"Martin, what's that?" Ray asked, skating over. "What's what?" Martin asked, grinning. He grabbed Ray in a bear hug, getting him in a headlock. "I beat you, that's what. Can't you take it?" "No, that." Ray shoved Martin away, pointing at the ice. Drops of red led to one scarlet pool. The blood ran down his legs, over his skates, onto the ice. Bright red. It soaked through the thin snow and skate blade tracks. "Nothing," Martin said. "Merde," Ray said. Fumbling with the zipper, Ray undid Martin's jacket. Martin tried to fight him off, but he was shaking too hard. Ray threw down his gloves and unbuttoned Martin's shirt. The slices were deep, and in the rough game, the stitches had come undone. Blood flowed from the crisscrossed cuts. The man had held Martin's neck with one hand, the knife with the other while his father had watched. "Pay," the man kept saying. "Pay, or I'll go deeper." "What the hell?" Ray asked, looking into Martin's eyes. The air was so cold, their blood froze as they stood there. Ray took off his own jacket and pressed it against the wounds. Martin wouldn't talk. He wouldn't tell a soul, not his mother, not his best friend, the details of what had been done to him, and he never had, not one person, until he met May. May, his only love. He had told her the whole story. He could see it now, the way it had been, the thing that had happened that bright cold morning on Lac Vert. He could see as if it was right in front of him. Every ice crystal, every pine needle, the look of wild competition in his friend's eyes. The scene was as clear as day. Until he opened his eyes. He was lying in bed, sweating and tangled in the sheets. "Martin, you cried in your sleep," May whispered beside him. "I dreamed," he began, then stopped. "Tell me," she said. He could hear the anguish in her voice, and behind it, the deepest love he had ever known. They had met at a strange, vulnerable time in each of their lives, and she had once told him they had specific things to give each other, things that no one else ever could. He was afraid, so afraid, that he had lost the power to give her anything. "Of the lake," he said. "What happened?" "I could see." May pressed her face against his chest. His scars no longer hurt as they once had, but they felt taut and hard as wire cables. Martin couldn't see her hand as she reached up to touch his face. He couldn't see their room, the window, the pictures of Lac Vert hanging on the wall, his only love lying beside him. He was going blind, and he couldn't see anything, except in his dreams. Chapter 1. The plane was crowded. As the passengers boarded, the flight attendant announced that every seat would be required, that people should stow all their belongings in the overhead bins or under the seats in front of them. May Taylor made sure her and Kylie's bags were out of the way, that Kylie knew she had to stay in her place and not bother the businessman in the aisle seat. Takeoff was smooth, and the plane climbed through thin gray clouds into the brilliant blue. Until this year, May hadn't flown much. There had been neither money nor reason, but Kylie's doctor in Boston had recommended that Kylie take part in a study at Twig University in Toronto, with a group of psychologists focusing on clairvoyance and personality disorders. May and Kylie lived with May's great-aunt in an old farmhouse on the Connecticut shoreline. May loved her daughter more than anything, but as she looked around the plane, she couldn't help noticing all the couples, the white-haired couple sharing the newspaper, the young professionals in his and her suits, talking on cell phones, two parents with their teenaged kids across the aisle. May stared at the parents for a few minutes, wondering how it would feel to have someone to share the care of Kylie with, to travel with, laugh with, worry with. She watched the woman bend toward her husband, her hair brushing his shoulder as she whispered in his ear. His lips turned up in a wide smile, and he bowed his head, nodding in agreement. May suddenly felt as if she'd swallowed a fish bone, and she quickly looked down. She had a sheaf of papers from Dr. Ben Whitpen at the Twig University Department of Psychology to read, reports and observations and recommendations, all pertaining to Kylie. Upon landing at Logan, she would take them to Kylie's doctor on Barkman Street. After that, the long drive home to Connecticut.